Android introduced Fragments in Android 3.0, API Level 11, primarily to support more dynamic and flexible UI designs on large screens, such as tablets. The activity operates as a frame that contains the UI fragments and can provide UI elements that surround the fragment. UI fragments generally operate like a view within the activity's layout. But, like an activity, you must create a subclass of fragment to use it. This gives you a layout along with a convenient place to put UI logic, the foundation of a reusable UI component. With fragments, you can pretty much treat activities as the operating system's entry point to the app, since most of your UI ends up being implemented in the fragments, but the OS can only open activities. Within an activity, you tell Android which layout to use by calling setContentView in onCreate. The activity then inflates the layout and places it correctly within the activity's layout hierarchy. With fragments, you manually inflate and return the inflated layout within the onCreateView method, which is independent of onCreate. Another difference: since activities inherit from the context class but fragments do not, you'll need to use the context property within a fragment to have access to app data typically associated with the context, such as string and image resources. Okay, now we are ready to talk about navigation. You can navigate between different activities and between fragments in an activity. As you navigate through activities in Android, the previous activities from within the app as well as from previous apps are arranged in a stack that we call the backstack. This backstack is ordered based upon the order in which each activity is opened. So an application that has a title screen as the first screen, followed by a trivia game activity, would have the trivia game activity at the top of the stack. Hitting the system back key would pop the trivia game activity off the stack and return to the title screen activity, and hitting it again would exit the app, finishing the activity, and return us to the previous app, probably the launcher. Fragments can have a similar backstack, except the entire stack is contained within the activity. All of this is controlled by a class called the Fragment Manager. When a fragment is instantiated by the Fragment Manager, the fragment transaction can optionally be added to the fragment backstack. If our example trivia app was written using fragments and we were in the game screen, the fragment backstack would contain a transaction to return us to the title screen fragment. Hitting the back key would execute this transaction, effectively popping the game screen fragment off of the stack and replacing it with the title screen fragment. Hitting it again would pass the back operation through to the activity backstack, finishing the activity and exiting the app. Ultimately, you can design your navigation with either an activity containing a series of fragments, a series of activities, or a combination of both techniques. For this class, we're focusing on the single activity multiple fragment model, which allows you to visualize your entire app's navigation within a single graph. The best way to learn about fragments is to implement them, which we're going to do in the project for this lesson.